Recent? Oh, I didn't see it in my
Hi,
packet.
everybody, and welcome to the planning board meeting of, what the heck is tonight? January 23rd, 2013. Tonight, we have Tony Evangelista, Christopher Rich, Bob Watts, myself, I'm Harry Locatilia. We have Howard Snyder, Wendy Beaumont, and without any further ado, we're gonna bring the meeting to order at, what is that, 7:16. Meeting is called to order at 7:16.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Rich.
I would move that we accept, subject to discussion, of course, accept the minutes of the meeting of January 9th as distributed, subject to any comments or changes by my colleagues.
Motion's been made to accept the January 9, 2013 minutes with any subsequent changes. Is there a second?
Second.
He beat you.
Beep,
Wow,
beep, beep.
he's got a quick trigger tonight. Seconded by Bob.
Just wanna get out in that cold. but-
Seconded by Bob. Discussion.
Don't go to
Can I say before we begin the discussion that these are the best minutes I've seen ever.
Ditto, ditto. They were good. Anything?
And I've seen a lot of minutes.
All right.
There were only 2 errors. Couple of letters, S's, stuff. I'm not even gonna bring it up.
No. See that? You just did.
No, there's very succinct, I think, and the extraneousness is gone, which is good.
Does anybody have any corrections that need to be made?
I was not here, Mr.
No.
Chairman, so I'm going to recuse
I understand.
from voting.
I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of accepting the January 9, 2013 minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All saying nay. All abstaining?
I get saved, please.
Okay. Motion carries 3-0 with 1 abstention. Noted that it's Mr. Rich. Okay. Moving right along. Howard, we seem to have some correspondence, and we have, why don't you give us a quick rundown on number 1 and number 2 of the agenda? And I have a correspondence that I received that we'll add as number 3. Bring us through the 2 Boxford,
The town of Boxford noticed the town of Georgetown regarding a variance request and a special permit request. The construction of a single-family home under on a undersized lot, and the property is far from any municipal interest that Georgetown may have, so it was a neighborly correspondence with us, so.
Are you actually required when you do a special permit or a variance to notify the abutting communities? Is that in special permit?
No, it's not a
No?
necessity,
I think
it's
it's
more of a
courtesy notice.
courtesy notice.
I thought I remember reading somewhere that the municipalities abutting had to be notified, but I must have been thinking of something else.
They have to be notified if there's a zoning amendment that we make.
Oh, okay, that might have been it. And what was the second one, Howard? That was the special permit for the undersized lot, and what was
And
that
then it was
other
a
one?
variance request, also pertaining to the same lot.
Oh, so those are of the same nature.
Yeah.
Okay, dealing with the same lot. Under the third one, not on your agenda, but, Howard, do you have copies, or did you manage to get copies into
Copies of,
the supplemental
are-
or whatever?
Distributed
Right.
in the supplemental packet
Okay, and
relative to the Pembroke School.
the supplemental packet. Aha, here we go. So, we're looking at something.
It'll be the second to last.
Ah, okay. It looks like this. Howard, do you wanna read that for the record, just for everybody? Just so that we can, be clear, and this was a letter that was sent, today to my email, and, I just want to, recognize it as correspondence that was received. This is from Rob Hoover, who, used to be on this board, used to be the chair, used to occupy this seat. He's also writing this email, I'd like to point out, and he states it right up front. please know I'm writing this email as a private citizen. I do happen to know that this gentleman, if I'm not mistaken, Tilly, you're on the school building committee. Is Rob on the school?
Yes.
Okay.
He
And he's a-
represents the
and he's a-
school department,
And he's a school committee member.
yeah.
And he's a school committee member as well. Yes, I thank you for
Elected
reminding
school
me.
department.
Yes, okay.
Plan-
So,
School.
just,
Board.
but point out
Excuse
that this is being written as a private citizen, and it's relevant tonight. So, Howard, would you mind?
It's relevant tonight because it's under the subject of Pembroke School, which
We've been
is,
having that
is on the
discussion.
agenda. And he writes, as noted, private citizen, states his experience. And he has a strongly held view the planning board and technical agent need to review the proposed Pembroke plans with particular focus on stormwater management and associated calculations. For every design component of this project, there has been and will continue to be a second set of independent professional reviewing eyes. Exception is stormwater management. It's a large $46 million project set within a rolling woodland setting that's going to be around for a long time. Impact to the land in town is significant. And he states he has witnessed too many other town projects rushed past the planning board in the name of saving money, review not required by law, we can do it ourselves, all resulting in problems that could have been resolved if properly reviewed. Item 3, for the new Pembroke, I consider planning board and technical agent review as a resource to be taken advantage of by the project team in town. Unfortunately, once again, the planning board has been put in a difficult spot due to the project schedule. About schedule, planning board needs these plans from the project architect sooner than later. The longer they wait, the more difficult your job will be in reviewing the plans. Robert Hoover, Principal, HBLA Incorporated.
Thanks, Howard. I know I'm sort of taking everything out of order here on the agenda tonight, but in light of this, we might want to move down to some of the planning board agenda items. And if you'll see under the planning office, the fourth one is the Pembroke School, and it's an update on it. Howard, there were numerous emails sent back and forth between you, the town administrator, and town council. If you could, would you please give us a quick summary? If I'm reading them correctly, it sounds as though town council is advising us and the town that site plan approval in the case of the Pembroke is not warranted or justified or allowed. And that was my take on what I read. Maybe I'm not
Right,
understanding that
until we
completely.
raised the question at the last meeting, so I did a follow-up with the town's zoning code enforcement officer,
John Metfield, the building inspector.
John Betvier, and I also coordinated with the town administrator to see if he had any information, and he gave me a copy of the Kopelman and Page letter, which I enclosed in your packet.
Mhm.
Which came first? John had the copy of the Kopelman and Page.
I don't know if the zoning code enforcement officer received a copy of the Kopelman and Page letter or not.
Who asked Kopelman and Page to issue this?
The town administrator requested Kopelman and Page,
On his own?
I believe on the behalf of the selectmen.
Are they the planning board now? Interesting. I would
So-
like to, I think it's very difficult, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
at the outset, to understand what this letter the intent of this letter is, without seeing the communication respecting it, requesting it rather.
Okay, I
With
understand.
that, that's my first comment. I'll wait for any other comments until you get into it.
Well, I think anyone that's trying to follow along is gonna be a little bit confused or at least in the dark. What we have is a letter from Town Council, Copeland and Page. This is a very respected and intelligent attorney, Jonathan Eichman. Maybe we should begin by just reading it. And it is addressed to Michael Farrell, Town Administrator, dated January 4th. Dear Mr. Farrell, you've indicated that the town plans to reconstruct the Pembroke School, a public school located on town-owned land known as Assessors Lot 10A-45, and you want to know what zoning requirements might apply to such reconstruction, if any, as well as to the extent of the authority for a permit-granting authority if a zoning permit is required. Jonathan points out at this point, right up front, I have not been provided with any plans or specific details of the proposed reconstruction. Then goes on to say, pursuant to the town's current zoning bylaws and zoning map, the school property is located on the residential C zoning district, also located in the part of the floodplain and water resource overlay districts. Based on my review of the bylaws, the following sections of the bylaw would apply to the reconstruction unless otherwise exempted. Use regulation schedule, the intensity of use for the dimensional regulations. Article 9, parking and loading, section 16580-.2, major development review. Section 16583, which is site plan review, that would directly relate to this board. And Article 15, nonconformities. There is no general exception for municipal use in the bylaws. In my opinion, school is properly classified as an educational use under the bylaws and thus pursuant to the bylaws use and regulation schedule. Reconstruction of the school to provide for its continued educational use is allowed as of right. I don't think any of us have any question.
None whatsoever.
I mean, that's pretty much that's a
Yeah.
given.
Permitted.
No question it's permitted. It is my further opinion pursuant, and again, these are John Eichmann's words. It's further my opinion pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3. The reconstruction must conform only to reasonable requirements concerning the bulk and height of structures and determining yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, and building coverage. The majority of those requirements are set forth in the intensity of use schedule and Article 9 of the bylaws. However, the authority charged with enforcing these requirements must waive compliance with each requirement that would substantially diminish or detract from the proposed use without appreciably advancing municipal zoning concerns, or when the cost of compliance would be disproportionate to the advancement of the concerns. It is further my opinion, pursuant to Chapter 48, Section 3, the relevant case law, the reconstruction is exempt from site plan approval and major development review under the bylaws, and may be exempt from restrictions regarding alteration or reconstruction of non-conforming structures. Boldface, paragraph heading says the reconstruction is a use allowed as of right, which he already stated. School's plainly an educational use. That term is defined in section 165.7 of the bylaws. I understand the purpose of its reconstruction is to continue that use pursuant to the bylaws use regulation schedule. Educational use is allowed as of right in all zoning districts. I seem to be, there it is. In all zoning districts in the town, including residential C, and thus the reconstruction of the school is an allowed use by right. Parking and dimensional requirements. Excuse me. On their face, the parking requirements set forth in Article 9 of the bylaws and the dimensional requirements set forth in the intensity of use schedule would apply to the reconstruction. However, the application of these and all other zoning requirements to an educational use such as the school is limited by General Law, Chapter 48, Section 3, the so-called Dover Amendment, which provides in pertinent part as follows. No zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit, regulate, or restrict the use of land or structures for religious purposes or for educational purposes on land owned or leased by the Commonwealth or any of its agencies, subdivisions, or bodies politic, or by a religious sect or denomination, or by a nonprofit educational corporation, provided, however, that such land or structures may be subject to reasonable regulations concerning the bulk and height of structures and determining yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, parking, building, and coverage requirements. Let the record show Tim Howard arrives at 7:30. Thank you, Wendy. In sum, an educational use, and Howard, just to, Tim, just to bring you up to speed, what we're discussing right now is, looking in your packet, you're gonna find, after Exhibit 4, I believe, is it Exhibit 4?
It's under exhibit.
It's under Exhibit 4.
You're gonna find a series of emails. From
That's the one.
Yeah,
There
from
you
a
go.
complimented page.
Yep, KMP opinion, and a couple of emails that went back and forth with Howard. And I'm just reading this into the record so everybody's up on it. Excuse me. In sum, an educational use meeting the requirements of the statute must be allowed as of right, and only reasonable zoning regulations of the type specified in the statute may be applied to such use. Lawful application of the zoning regulations to educational use is not as simple, however, as requiring educational uses to meet the applicable requirements set forth in the bylaws. As set forth above, only reasonable regulations concerning the bulk and height of structures and determining yard sizes, lot area, setbacks, open space, and parking and building coverage requirements may be applied to educational uses. According to case law, an otherwise applicable requirement is not reasonable and may not be applied if the application of that requirement would substantially diminish or detract from the usefulness of the proposed use without appreciably advancing legitimate municipal concerns, or if the cost of compliance would be disproportionate to the advancement of municipal concerns. He cites case law trustee versus trustees of Tufts College versus City of Medford, 415 Mass, 753, 757, 1993. This determination of applicability must be made initially by the person or board authorized by the bylaws to determine compliance with the applicable requirements. In Georgetown, the building inspector is charged with determining compliance with both parking requirements in Article 9 and the application of the intensity of use table, Section 16597. Get to the meat of it. Once plans for the reconstruction are complete and a building permit application submitted, the building inspector will determine if the applicable requirements are met, and if not, should apply the tests articulated in trustees of Tufts College as set forth above to determine if the reconstruction should be exempt from any of the requirements it does not meet. Now we have a new heading, site plan review, major development review, and nonconformities. Pursuant to the express terms of section 16583B of the bylaws, site plan approval would be required for the reconstruction. However, site plan review is not identified in general law, chapter 48, section 3, as one of the permissible types of regulation that may be applied to educational uses. And he's quoting case law here, Bible Speaks versus Board of Appeals of Lenox, 8 Mass Appeal Court, 1932-33, 1997. The appeals court stated that there is nothing in the language of General Law, Chapter 38, Section 3, which contemplates the requirement of site plans and informational statements as monitoring devices for educational use. As set forth in that decision, excuse me, a municipality may not regulate through zoning, which includes site plan review, such things as the impact of a proposed educational use on a public safety, police, fire protection, drainage, utilities, traffic, and the character of the neighborhood. Only when zoning laws impose reasonable and specific regulations of the type spelled out in the statute, bulk, excuse me, height of structures, etc., through site plan review would the application of site plan requirements be permissible. In my opinion, he states, and then only for that limited purpose in a non-discretionary manner and without reference to other more general site plan review criteria. I can't go on. Can someone continue reading this?
In my opinion, site plan approval as set forth in section 165-83 of the bylaws cannot be applied to the reconstruction. with one limited exception. Section 16583 provides for the type of discretionary, non-specific regulation prohibited by the Bible speaks. Which I don't know, what does that mean, the Bible speaks?
That, well,
Bi-
that's,
Bible
the Bible
speaks
speaks
is-
is the case, but that doesn't make sense, that sentence.
No.
In my opinion, site plan approval as set forth in 16583 of the bylaws cannot be applied.
With one limited exception. 6583 provides for the type of discretionary, non-specific regulation.
Prohibited. Well, if it's, if it can't be applied and then whatever's left is prohibited, hi.
For instance, section 16583A indicates that the purpose of site plan review is to ensure that buildings are properly located on the site. Adjacent properties are protected from nuisance and distracting visual features. Unique features on the site are preserved. Adequate drainage, solid waste disposal, and parking are put in place. Safe and convenient access is assured, and the village-like character of the town is maintained. With the exception of parking, none of these purposes or any of the specific types of regulation included within section 16583, such as traffic, community impact, town character, landscaping, lighting, and stormwater management, are included among the types of reasonable dimensional regulations allowed under GL Chapter 48, Section 3.
Can I stop you there? Because that was interesting, because it says, or John is opining that with the exception of parking, none of the purposes or any of the specific types of regulation, such as traffic, community impact, town character, landscape, lighting, and stormwater management, which is the thrust
Bob
of the letter
Hoover's
that Mr. Hoover wrote to us.
Right.
We're being told here by town council that that is outside the purview of the review of, well, any board, I would imagine.
In
you're saying-
a reconstruction project. I think your point was extremely well.
Well,
Really,
yeah, it's
This is not
construction
reconstruction.
or reconstruction, I would imagine, but
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
know. Totally don't know.
I mean, if
Now,
we-
there's a
Not
reason
even on
why,
the same footprint, not even near
there's
the
a
same
reason why the
footprint.
attorney is using the word reconstruction.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, maybe we can continue on, because.
Yes, absolutely.
Go for
There's some, oh, I can't even talk anymore.
Oh, you did?
Oh, please, can you? I just wanted to point out stormwater management was specifically mentioned there
Okay.
by town council as being.
Isn't there a supervening statute that requires stormwater management?
Yeah, it's the federal
that-
government.
That may have not been in place at the time of 48 and may now supersede it?
Well, interestingly
Perhaps.
enough, in our own bylaws, we just 2 years ago passed, what the heck was it?
Stormwater.
Stormwater.
Was it chapter 57?
Yeah, it's chapter 57, I think it is, yeah. And interestingly enough, chapter 57 grants that authority to do stormwater management to the Conservation Commission.
For erosion
Uh,
and the
well, no,
erosion
it's
bylaw.
A permit issued by the commission, its capacity, this is a brand-new bylaw in
It's a
2011.
town bylaw, that's not zoning.
Well,
that
the
bylaw.
legislative authority is granted on a home rule amendment of the Mass Constitution and the home rule statutes pursuant to the regulations of the federal.
Yeah, let's keep going,
Water
because I think it gets very interesting.
That's where it's getting its authority under federal
Right.
regs.
Likewise, major development review may not be applied to the reconstruction, in my opinion. Repeats it. Pursuant to section 165-80.2, expansion of existing uses exceeding certain thresholds must first obtain a major development special permit, which includes site plan review. Educational uses protected under chapter 40A cannot be required to obtain a special permit or to obtain any permit through a discretionary permit process. He basically repeats what you've already read. Finally, although the relevant facts are not available as yet, it is possible that the reconstruction may involve a pre-existing non-conforming structure
Or a lot.
or lot. which this does not. So that, all of that chapter he addressed because it was asked of him, I believe, that this was a reconstruction, and it is not. It is a brand-new school. We will be tearing down our existing school. We're moving it in a different area on the parcel. We are dynamiting. We are moving rocks. We are going to make a storage area for those rocks. We are putting in another road, redoing the road and drains that are on the existing road and putting in an emergency road. With, the discussion is maybe paving and maybe not. We're not sure till we get the cost. But there is a substantial impact to the neighbors. This may affect from the erosion and the water, as you know, Harry. It could affect all downtown. The information that I remember getting from going to the storm management issues conferences, 20 tons to 150 tons can be eroded from 1 acre development. We're doing a substantial, this is the biggest project this town has seen. And for one, I think we must have a site approval.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think it would be very interesting, if I remember correctly, there was an override question for the town to build a new school. I would imagine to build a new school, their application to the state says for their matching funds is to build a new school,
Right,
not to reconstruct the Pembroke School.
right.
Well, there's a reason why Attorney Eichmann keeps restating the word reconstruction, specifically reconstruction.
In defense of that, we don't have the query
Exactly.
that was
Don't
asked.
know,
of
and
the-
then that's why my
That,
first
that term
statement,
may have been used.
that's why my first statement was,
Yeah.
So, we
Was
don't
what
know
it was.
exactly what the question was. so-
because the definition of reconstruction that we just looked up online prior to the meeting is restored to an earlier state. And if you
Yes.
read Attorney Eichmann's letter, he's stating that this building would also be, if I'm reading it correctly, or understanding it correctly, exempt from the sanitary disposal regulations in the town. No,
No,
that's not gonna happen. They can put whatever they want for a septic system in there?
no,
I don't think so.
that's not zoning. Only zoning according
Well,
to.
if you look at it, he states, where is it? Solid waste disposal. We don't have sewage, so that would be septic.
That's right.
I think, well,
Well, I'm on the.
I mean, it should, there's a lot of red flags, is
One-
what I'm trying to say, is that are coming up. And it doesn't address a lot of points.
that would be, I would definitely agree with you. There are bylaws in town that are unique in that they hinge upon site plan review of some sort. One of them is definitely,
I mean, we're the board that makes sure that the sidewalks are right. This is a road going to a school. We're the board that makes sure that the roads are wide enough,
And, you know, that's.
and that they have the
key.
correct pitch,
interestingly enough.
and that they're not gonna create ice stands.
I'd like to continue reading on just a little bit more, because that's actually addressed in the final paragraph here, or the second penultimate paragraph. Finally, although the relevant facts are not yet available, and again, I'm reading from Mr. Eichmann's letter, it is possible that reconstruction may involve a pre-existing non-conforming lot or structure. That fact should not alter the application of the bylaws to the reconstruction, however, as held by the appeals court in trustees of Boston College versus Board of Aldermen of Newton, and I'll skip the citation. Compliance with dimensional standards of the type specified in 40A, Section 3, is to be analyzed first under the tests articulated in Trustees of Tufts College set forth above, regardless of whether the project involves a pre-existing non-conforming lot or structure. If, and again, we're back to the building inspector, if the building inspector determines that the reconstruction is dimensionally non-conforming in one or more respects, but that all such nonconformities are permitted under the Tufts test, then no further approval is needed with respect to the nonconformities, regardless of whether those nonconformities are new or pre-existing. On the other hand, the building inspector determines that the reconstruction does not meet one or more of the reasonable dimensional requirements under the Tufts test, then the town could seek the requisite permission to go forward with the reconstruction under Chapter 48, Section 6, and Article 15 of the bylaws as applicable. If I'm reading that correctly, it sounds as though the building inspector will be the one that will look at the use tables, look at the
Dimensional
dimensional
controls.
controls, and will determine if the building is greater than 35 feet tall, which is dimensional, something that we would normally do. If the parking places are larger than, or not the size 9 by 20, these are dimensional controls that are mentioned. We have these written down plainly. Under normal circumstances, the site plan review process would handle these, but it sounds as though the building inspector, in John's, in Mr. Eichmann's opinion, the building inspector will determine if the applicable requirements are met, and if not, should apply the tests articulated in Trustees of Tufts College to determine the reconstruction.
I think, though, going back to Tilly's point and to Chris's point, there's nothing in this project that's reconstruction. And he, as Chris has mentioned more than once, he uses the term reconstruction very specifically to say this is the context of his discussion here.
Mr.
I
Chairman?
don't think that, very strong implication to me is that this applies to a reconstruction project, not at all to a new construction project. And I think that we need to go back, whether it's to the selectmen or to whoever it is that requested this, who initiated this work, to find out what they were asking about.
Well, without, let me cut you off there for a minute. Howard, how is it that we were, or the board, or you were privy to a letter that was sent to, addressed to Mike Farrell, town administrator? How did you come, did he send this to you, or?
No,
Was it sent
as
to
a
you by the
follow-up
building
to Tilly's
inspector?
comment at the last meeting, I coordinated with the zoning code enforcement officer, and I
building
also
inspector? Okay.
went to the town administrator.
Is that the result of this email? January 16, asking John questions?
Right, I followed up with John.
John, not John Ehrlichman, John Metvier.
Right. And
Yeah, this
I
is-
approached the town administrator and was going to seek a legal interpretation of this, and
It was already done for you.
it was already done, so
Oh.
I accepted this.
Well, you don't
Excellent,
know
excellent.
if this is the legal interpretation of what you've asked. I personally, and I don't know what my colleagues, how they feel on it. I personally would like to see the correspondence requesting this from town council and what the presentation was. I mean, there are things in here that are said, and there are things in here that are not said. He hasn't seen the plans. And you have a paragraph that says, finally, although the relevant facts are not available as of yet. Let's think about what that statement says. The relevant facts are not available. If you don't know the relevant facts, how can you issue a decision?
An opinion.
How can you
An opinion,
offer an
yeah.
opinion? We sit on hearings to decide what the relevant facts are. Mr. Hoover, who sat as, when I first started on this board, he sat as a board member, then he moved to vice chair, then he was chair. He then moved on, became a school committee member, and now as a private citizen, has written a letter saying, the planning board should be involved in this process. Nobody knows better than Rob Hoover what this board is all about. Because I have to tell you something, having sat with Mr. Hoover, if you think this man is anal about things, Rob Hoover redefines anal when it comes to plans. He's wonderful. He's
We actually mean meticulous.
Detailed.
oh, meticulous is
Yeah,
not. I don't know the right word for it.
very comprehensive and
I
meticulous.
learned so much from Rob Hoover in the years that I was here. I never knew how important it was to know what the lumens were on a streetlight.
Sure.
May
if-
I
you,
intersect?
you most certainly may. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'm on the school building committee, as you know, with Rob and 9 others. The engineer that's doing our feasibility study had said at one meeting that some towns have a site of approval process and others don't. So when I asked him at our previous meeting, our last meeting, I says, can you go into detail about that? He says it depends on the board's attitude, whether they want to do it or not. But in no way, in a sense, can they deny anything. And I says, well, we already have on our books that education is permitted use. So site approval to begin with is not on the use at all. We have had many site approvals that we never address the use. We address the site, which is the outside. So the use is never addressed, and if it is required to be use getting a special permit, it's usually the zoning board of appeals.
I agree.
So that's that out of the way. I did a printout. I think you may have it in the pile there. I looked on
It's
the
the last 2
computer.
pages that are stapled
The
In
last
the
two.
supplement,
in the supplement.
I looked at Andover's and I called up the planner there. And what she said,
It's gonna be loose from the supplement. It's 2 pages stapled together.
because of the Dover amendment, they have a special form which the child care, the education, and the religious uses use. And she has at Andover, which is, it's one thing about Andover, they're
It's at
very
the bottom of your left
sophisticated.
pile, Chris.
Can you bring it up on the
It's
screen?
at the
for
bottom
us?
of that pile. I don't have it on me.
This one here?
They have,
Right.
yeah, they have a very
Right.
sophisticated land use departments, and it's quite, it's a model. You know, if you ever get a chance to go to Andover, go over there and take a
we need
look,
to adopt it.
because it's really a beautiful setup,
Tonight.
and
This, it's not in here?
No, it's gonna be,
loose.
That's it, Chris.
And,
Chris has
It's
it.
an application.
and what they do there is, they don't have a hearing per se, they have a meeting.
Okay.
And they go over all of the listing that she has on the application. And they notify the abutters as a courtesy. They do it themselves. Because of, as you can see, it's obvious that an abutter would want to know what's going on, particularly that the town is protecting their properties.
If I can, I'm just looking at this for the first time, Tilly, but applicability, the inspector of buildings of the town of Andover hereby establishes the following requirements for the application for building permit. This is something that, well, it sounds like here, what's happening is town council is saying the building inspector has
Makes
full
all the
authority to
decisions.
make all the decisions about the project. It sounds like in Andover, the building inspector is saying, help me with site plan review.
Right.
So that because, I'm reading all this and, you know, even before I was
What I
reading this.
gathered from the,
What do
the
you got?
town of Andover was the building inspector would receive, this type of application, and it would be processed where, an organization, a design review committee would be formed with the planning board, with the building inspector, fire department, the police department. They collect, review what the site plan is being presented, formulate a report, and issue that report to the planning board for the planning board to consider.
That's what they, design review committees.
Right.
That some communities have those. Andover has one of those?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then, the planning board would then review that, report and issue recommendations, back for the consideration of the applicant.
And the other, I mean, and I hate, I feel compelled to bring it up. I mean, if we get at loggerheads with disagreement with town council, we're going to have to go out and seek our own counsel.
Well,
I mean, if you, if you
I can
think
say
about
this much.
I mean, I would,
There's a
I
couple
st-
things that.
I would like not to discuss this anymore until we see how it was requested.
Well, can I make
Well,
a
that's-
suggestion in the interest of time?
That's what I was
Um,
just gonna say, this is the
we're-
time element
We're,
here.
we're getting, yeah, we wanna be able to dispense with this and get a resolution, one way or the other. It seems to me, if I'm summarizing, Tim, did you wanna say anything before?
No, I'm listening.
Bob, you all set? Okay. And let me see if I have where we are here. There seem to be a couple of questions. And, given that this wasn't directed towards you directly, this was sent to the town administrator. Howard, maybe what you need to do is, I propose this. Talk to Mr. Eichmann and, send him a correspondence and ask him if, number one, point out that we've had the occasion to read this and review it, and that the board has some questions. The first of which, if I'm not mistaken, is the most obvious, that in spite of the fact that he was not shown the plans, he would have no way of recognizing that this is obviously the demolition of one building and the erection of an entirely new building,
On a new
which,
site.
On a new site.
on a
But
different
still part
location
of the
within
lot,
that
though.
lot. So he would probably, he doesn't understand that it's not a reconstruction, it's an entirely new building.
We don't know what he understands till we read.
Well, exactly,
Well,
what he
the
says,
answer.
and he says right up here, you know, at the very, very beginning, I have not been provided with any plans or specific details. So he could not have known that it wasn't a reconstruction. That word may have been bandied out
Are
there.
there prints? Are there plans?
Yeah, but they're not complete. But the thing is, okay, you can finish.
Well, it's a good question, and we'll get to it. That sounds like the very first question that I think this board is looking to have answered, to let him know that. And first, we'd want to know if everything that he stated applies for a new construction, essentially, in the same way that this reconstruction that he's talking about would. That would be the first thing in my mind. The second thing in my mind is, in my mind anyway, is how.
Let me interrupt you to add something in, including the construction of new roadways.
Right.
Right.
Particularly the
And
inspection.
septic and
That's
site
everything
improvements.
having to do with it.
The
Are they-
inspection is what I was mostly concerned about. If we don't have a site approval and we don't hire our consultant the engineer, to review the plans and then follow up on the inspection, nobody is.
Then you end up with the
Well,
Pembroke.
then John
Then you end up with the Pembroke
becomes,
that we have.
John Metvier becomes everything and everybody
But
for
he
this
has not
project.
done one road in town.
Right,
as
he's
far as-
probably not a registered engineer.
I think I was told at the last meeting yesterday that he is a PE.
That's all well and good.
The other
There
issues to.
other concerns that the board may have. Chris, you had mentioned, just a clarification that, that the school construction is exempt from septic?
Well, what's
Storm drains?
Well, that's another issue.
Yeah, I didn't read anything about septic in
Well,
there.
No, I did,
Yeah, it was
well,
there.
goes,
let's get
in
it
my opinion, site plan approval as set forth in 16583 of the bylaws cannot be applied to the reconstruction, with one limited exception. 16583 provides for the type of discretionary, non-specific regulation prohibited by the Bible speaks. For instance, section 16583 indicates that the purpose of site plan review is to ensure that buildings are properly located on the site, adjacent properties are protected from nuisance and distracting visual features, unique features on the site are preserved, adequate drainage, solid waste disposal, and parking are put in place, safe and convenient access is assured, and the village-like character of the town is maintained.
So all of those things are outside our purview because of chapter 40, section 3, chapter 40A, section 3.
Let me continue. With the exception of parking, none of these purposes or any of the specific types of regulation included within 16583, such as traffic, community impact, town character, landscaping, lighting, stormwater management, are included among the types of reasonable dimensional regulation allowed under 40A.
Well, perhaps we can get a clarification,
Mm-hmm.
and ask him if what is exempted is review by, the Board of Health. And I don't know the chapter and verse for Board of Health regulations, Chris, but, 'cause it sounds as though,
Incredible.
it sounds as
like
though.
he's writing about a whole different kind of project.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're asking for clarification, and I mean, I don't think we're out of line asking for
Oh, not at all.
clarification.
I think the underlying question is, what's the scope of our responsibility as a planning board?
Hmm.
Do, he's implying nothing.
Would seem to be, and
And
it sure
I
sounds like we
question
don't
that,
have any.
And I wanna make sure that he states that, if that's his
Well,
opinion, that he states that.
if that is the case, and there is
Clearly.
no jurisdiction for, there's no reason for site plan review. There are some things over and above that that we might want to address and make sure that we're clear on. First of all, being that the Board of Health, or at least DEP, is covering, the
Sanitary
sanitary
disposal.
disposal system. That's one of the bullet points.
Myself. There's another, we have another bylaw in town that says you can't move so many yards
That's right.
of fill.
That was what I was gonna bring up, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, you can't move it
interesting.
off-site, you can move it.
Well-
within
Well, they're
the
eventually
site.
gonna.
We don't know
move it.
what they're gonna do.
There's plenty of holes
They're
to
gonna,
fill up.
they have
out
to
back
fill
there.
in,
That's pretty.
they have to, like I said before, they have to dynamite, they have to fill in certain areas. They have to, store it, because it would save us substantial money by not filling the trucks up and going away and then coming back with some.
Gee, did anyone think about bringing in a rock crushing plant and
That might be
making your own
worthwhile.
architectural fill?
They may wish to do that, or I don't know.
But,
But the whole thing is, I believe what you two are referring to is chapter 49, which is the earth removal in importation bylaw. And this was just, essentially, the way it works is, it's two permits. One is a miscellaneous permit, which probably misnamed it, it's a bad name, it should really be called a minor earth removal permit. And then there's the full-blown one. The very first one, the smaller one, which deals with less than 1,000 cubic yards going off-site and less than 500 cubic yards being imported. That's a permit that's just granted by the building inspector. When you get over 1,000, the 1,000 cubic yards coming off the site, and over 500 cubic yards being imported into the site, at that point, that is also a permit, but that permit has to come to the planning board. And, well, there are various application processes, et cetera.
Well, it's.
Bear in mind that under normal circumstances, we never see these. And the reason we never see them is, one of the exceptions to this is if you have site plan approval. You have site plan approval, or if it's a subdivision control. Basically, this was created to capture huge earth moving in and out on lots if there's no site plan, if there's no subdivision, if somebody just decides to start a mine
Or a sand pit.
or a sand pit or a gravel pit. But when you don't have site plan review, I would still think that this would apply and it's a permit.
I
But
think
again,
so, too.
let's ask town council and let's ask him, does 40A, section 3 or any of the sections, does that trump Georgetown bylaw, chapter 49?
You know, and
And this is
Mr.
a
Chairman,
town bylaw, which is, as you know, is different than the zoning.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes,
I,
it's under chapter
Yeah,
49.
so make that clear to him.
Same with the
too.
stormwater.
As
You
is,
gotta spoon feed it to
as
him.
is septic. And as is,
I didn't know it was mine.
chapter 57, stormwater
Here
management.
it is.
That's also one that I would like an opinion on. That chapter 57, which is your erosion and stormwater control. That puts the permit granting authority as the Conservation Commission to make sure that they are looking at stormwater management. Again, this was another catch-all. If it didn't go before this board or that board, and someone was doing a great deal of earth moving that would affect and create erosion, essentially affect the neighbors.
This
If you
is-
shape so much earth.
This is
then it
fertile
triggered.
land that hundreds of years have never
Mr.
had people, never had any change in the water flow. I mean, you're dealing with many, many issues.
Mr. Chairman,
But
if I may, and
Certainly.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Tilly.
Don't let that happen again.
I don't want my comments construed as being against the project. If it's a given,
Yeah.
this project's gonna be done. I
Right.
just wanna make darn well sure it's done right. And
Let's put it this
and
way.
I want that at the outset.
Yeah.
It's gotta be done right.
Right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anybody on this board that would use this,
The voters
their
have
position.
spoken.
This is moving forward. I was a big cheerleader of the project to begin with. I was out there going rah rah, vote for this anyway. This is gonna happen. It should happen. The concern here, and my concern, and I would hope this board's concern, should be focused on the same thing that Mr. Hoover discussed in his letter, which is basically
Exactly.
you have great potential impact to the community, big time possible impact with water issues to the abutters, Elm Street in general, known flood area, not a greatest area in the world. All of these things really ought to be looked at, and if we don't do it, well, it sounds like the building inspector's gonna be doing it, but that's a toughie, because what we usually do by having hundreds and thousands of dollars of off-site review done by engineers, now all of a sudden is just gonna get dumped onto the desk of the building inspector. And I hope, for his sake, that, he's ready to deal with that. But, we lost Howard here for a moment.
Personally, I hope that it's not in the building inspector's purview, because I think it's too much.
Well,
And it's
it's
too critical.
certainly is.
Howard
I'm-
had
And
asked-
I'm totally with you, Chris. It's a project, the voters have spoken, this is gonna go forward, and it has to be done right.
Right.
We don't want to replicate the kinds of problems that Pembroke has had.
I want it done right. I want,
Absolutely.
we're the overseers of the roads, road construction in the town,
New road construction,
new road construction.
subdivision road.
Any new project, if you put a shopping center in with a road to it, we'd be
Right.
we'd be reviewing that.
Under major development review, which
Yes.
Mr. Reichman is saying we don't have the authority to do because of Chapter 40A, Section 3.
Yeah, but
And again,
although it may fall into the definition of a major development, if $46 million isn't a major development, then
he's saying it
Pretty
it doesn't
major.
apply. But,
So I've,
Howard,
I,
what was, in summary, what will you be
in
asking?
chapter 49, chapter 57, the earth removal bylaw, the scope of the planning board, board of health,
Stormwater management, right?
right, clarification of the school construction, reconstruction,
The term,
Versus new construction.
it's new
Right.
construction.
which he'd have no way of knowing without seeing the plans.
Well, maybe he did. We don't know though. We don't know what
And that's part of the point, is we don't know what the question
What was he, what?
It's,
It was
it,
asked.
the
what
big red,
info was
first
he
red
given?
flag was the word reconstruction.
Right.
Yep.
And not only that, but he wrote RC, and I believe it's RB.
No, it's RC on that side of Elm Street. It's RB. on the
No,
other
they
side.
changed that. At first they did RC there, and then they changed it for, the horse board to make it RB, so that's all
Well,
RB.
It sounds like irrespective of that, it's still, it's a by right use in the C or the A or the B. And, it also sounds to me like, any nonconformities with the lot itself that would normally go to the ZBA could be waived by the building inspector under Mr. Reichman's, opinion.
Well,
So the fact that the lot has, well, it doesn't have any frontage.
well, I
does
have
it?
some questions that you could ask the
It has
lawyer.
zero
Well, the
frontage.
new road that would be put in would provide frontage perhaps.
No, that would have to be approved by us,
I'd like to know the inspection and the
under
maintenance.
subdivision.
That's what I wanna know.
Create
Who,
frontage.
who is responsible for maintaining it
I mean, look at the
and
lot.
inspecting it as it's being constructed?
Is there anything else that we'd like to add to the correspondence that Howard will, is being instructed to send?
Well,
by
I
this
think
board?
what Tilly is asking is good, is who, if not us, then who
Yeah.
looks over the shoulder of the contractor?
right, I've got that, I've got, the scope of the planning board, the memo implies none, does the planning board have any?
Who's
But
going
if
to make
not-
sure the bond is
if-
proper?
Yeah.
If not the planning board, who is it that would be
Who's gonna do the
responsible
inspections?
to look out for the town's best interest?
Right.
I mean, the town could build something on a peat bog and the school could sink if nobody's looking over their shoulder. Not that that's an issue, but it's just an example.
An excellent
Without
example.
oversight.
Absolutely.
Somebody
These
has
are all
to
good
provide
questions.
oversight.
These are all good questions, and I'm sure we'll,
We'd be happy
We'll
not
find-
to if we could be convinced that there was somebody qualified.
if we're not it,
Paid
there,
to do
there really should be somebody.
Right.
Let's hope that if we're not it, that we can at least find out who's going to be it. Are you good with that, Howard? You,
I am.
you know,
Yeah, I'm
anybody
good.
have anything else they wanna add to
No.
that?
I'm
Okay,
kinda-
let's move on. And, in this
We,
the paper here,
we went from correspondence to planning office number 4.
I get you. Good.
You wanna
And
go
I'm
back to
looking
public
at,
hearing?
public hearing here, Park and Rec. Lou Millet, engineer for for the Park and Rec Commission. And I am now going to, reopen the public hearing for, what the heck's it called? What's that, 120 Main Street? What's the address there?
East Main Street recreational fields.
East Main Street Recreational Fields. Okay, we're reopening that continuation. Hi, Lou.
Hello.
Give us an update, buddy. I notice you don't have any plans with you.
I do not. I'm waiting for some things to come back from the printer. I'm hoping to have everything come back tomorrow. Convey that. Those new drawings with all the changes that you guys had requested to Howard, in the hopes that they would then go to your reviewer and we could keep the process moving along.
Oh, so
So-
Larry hasn't seen it yet.
He has not. In the interim, from our last hearing, I also went and spoke with the building inspector. The floodplain apparently changed with the last delineation of the floodplains.
FEMA map update?
Yeah, I disagree with I disagree with it, and, so I've kinda had to create a case to say why I disagree with that. I then have to go before ZBA to convince them of the same, so that they'll either issue a floodplain permit or say that a floodplain permit is not required.
Did you realize that, Howard, that he is making a judgment call on the FEMA changes?
No. I
We were told that that wasn't gonna, right? We were told that that wasn't gonna change our bylaw for.
It didn't change our bylaw.
Yeah,
We
so I don't-
incorporated it into our bylaw.
Who's gonna do that? Are we supposed to do that?
What? Incorporate the,
Incorporate their FEMA map into our bylaw?
we did. So,
How did that
but,
affect
but
the land?
Wu's
I
disagreeing.
think what Tilly's asking is, who is going to represent that data so that when we pull up information on, say, my map or GIS, how are we going to see the new FEMA lines versus what used to be the old FEMA lines? Who will update that information on a graphic system?
I believe Merrimack Valley Planning Commission gets the data set layer from FEMA
Ah,
and incorporates them into my map.
would you find out when that update's gonna occur and get back to us on that? That would be interesting. Great.
How did the change in the floodplain delineation affect your project? Negatively or positively?
I guess it would be negatively because the understanding of Park and Rec when they got a hold of this land for the purposes of designing what we're designing, they believed that the areas that they got were outside the limits of the floodplain. Somehow that line has been adjusted.
To include those areas?
It does, and I guess without doing a 300 acre drainage study, there's some things that I want to present to ZBA as part of a floodplain application to say why I don't believe the proposed project is within a floodplain. And one of the elements to that is that they changed the culvert size at the outlet to this from 36 to 48. So there's already about a 78% increase in the flow out of this area, just on the cross-sectional area that's coming through there. The proposed project is at the top of the watershed, of this 300 acre watershed. So essentially, under 6.5 inches of rain, what would have to happen is every last depression and all those ponds would have to completely fill, and North Street would be under, well, theoretically, North Street would be under 5 or 6 feet of water. Floodplain isn't like like your swimming pool. If you a fancy shaped swimming pool with different elevations, the water's stationary, so it has one elevation. Floodplains don't work that way because the water's moving. So if you increase the flow rate with out of which the water can move out of that watershed, you're altering where that floodplain is. You're basically taking that floodplain and moving it downstream. Now, that's sort of a different issue here, but that was changed several years ago, before anybody, I think, did any on-the-ground delineation of where this watershed is. And there's no actual numbers tied to this. The only numbers I can find are older town records, which go back to, I think, the 70s or 80s. It's a much older map. The floodplain elevation on our side of North Street is 87, and on the opposite side of North Street is 70. So that alone doesn't make any sense. I just think from a common sense perspective, not even necessarily an engineering perspective. Maybe engineers sometimes would be so close to it crunching numbers that they trip over the numbers. I think you take 100 people out there and say, what do you think is going to happen here? And you make the case for the slope of the area, the outlet capacity of the area, the ability of the area to retain water under its own detention, like the ponds. A lot of the ponds that are out there are all man-made. So you have an incredible amount of storage there, and then also looking at adjacent watersheds and which way water flows in the other directions. Those I just want to present to ZBA just to kind of give them a sense. I mean, I can do all kinds of drainage studies and it will cost all kinds of money to prepare that. But I think what we're talking about is a very small amount of impervious area. If this area really isn't a floodplain, it's got much bigger problems than the skateboard park.
Lou, sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
What is it you're looking for from the ZBA? Why are you going before them?
It's floodplain. They
Because
deal
the
with-
project,
Floodplain permit?
yeah.
Yeah, they deal
And
with floodplain.
Yeah.
if there are no structures, isn't it exempt?
Well, I think I don't believe that it is,
Oh, okay.
but
I must have misread.
there is.
My memory's probably not.
There is not a, I mean, we are building, we are proposing some impervious area.
Oh, it's the impervious areas the trigger?
I believe that's what's triggering it. And I think basically I'm just trying to make a logical case as to why it doesn't mean that it's not gonna get a
You actually
permit.
gone before them yet? Or
I have not.
When's the hearing?
I think it is going to be the first week in March.
So did the building inspector give you a denial to go to the zoning board of appeals?
No, it's, the project requires at least making an application through the floodplain permit process.
And you're going in March.
Yes,
And that's all he said?
yes.
I just want to read out loud. What basically we was doing is, in any land in a floodplain district proven to the satisfaction of the Board of Appeals as being in fact not subject to flooding, and that such land use will not increase the danger to the health or safety of the occupants thereof, and that such land use will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, Board of Appeals may grant a special permit.
Okay, so that's what they're looking for. It's a special permit. Great. Anybody have any further questions for Lou?
Do we have to continue this?
We better, or,
Are you requesting a continuance?
Please. Oh, I did have one question, and that is, I don't think it was ever identified how many sets of drawings I'm submitting back. I thought I left with the understanding that it might be, say, 4, and that's what I ordered. But if you need additional sets, now would be the time to tell me.
Well, we'll need a full size for the tech,
Yeah.
reviewing engineer, full size for the planning office. You can take a poll of the planning board to see if anybody wants a drawing, what size.
If I can interrupt because of the number of times that we've gone through these plans, an idea. Have we thought about one plan?
The planning board saves a set.
don't we have 2 for the file? Are we required to have 2 in the file?
I would say just what the planning board requires first. Because if we come back with, oh, you didn't put this on, or, oh, this needs to be changed, this money's all coming out of Park and Rec. You know, I'm just trying to save money.
Well,
It's,
does, let me do a little poll here. Billy, do you want to set?
No, I don't.
Chris, do you want to set?
I don't feel the need right away, no.
No.
Well,
Not yet.
I don't need one. Yeah, not yet. And especially, remember where we are here. The plans were, we added all our input. You changed the plans. I think 2 for the planning office, 1 for the review engineer, and 1 to just have floating around. Might be a good idea. Anybody who wants to look at it and review it. Okay.
So 4 full size, and I'd like a half size.
not a problem.
Is it
And
possible?
can you do it electronically?
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I was
gonna
gonna
ask.
ask.
Can you give us an electronic copy
It's
also?
such
Yeah,
that
you're
it
gonna have
could
to do
be-
that anyway.
Is it possible to do it electronically so that it could be put up on that screen?
Set it electronically and we can.
Sure.
PDF it.
That way, rather than all of us trying to
Yep,
put
PDF it.
plans on the board,
Yeah.
and public can't see
I've
us.
tried to
Sneak into
be
the 21st century.
sensitive to Lou, cause it takes time to generate a PDF, and how many pages is the set? So,
27 sheets or whatever.
Is that tedious to make a PDF for that?
Sometimes it's just tedious conveying it electronically, but if I burn it on a disk or whatever, I can just
Or
drive it
flash
on. It's
drive,
not, yeah, a thumb drive or whatever, that's fine.
That sounds like that's adequate. The only other question would be, do we wanna burn the time, to wait to get these plans back and do a continuation to turn around and then send them to Larry? Or
No,
are we?
Larry should review them.
Larry should review them first, so as soon as you get the plans, you get them to Howard, and Howard, how does it usually work? You convey them to Larry, or?
yeah, I date
One.
stamp them to show we processed.
Gotcha.
when we
you get a date
receive,
stamp.
And then
Gotcha.
it goes on to Larry.
I understand, so there's a date stamp involved, and then.
And
it
once I
moves on.
receive those drawings, it'll just be a benchmark that I can review how far into the review time period we are. So if we're getting close to when you need to request extension of time, we'll just keep apprised of that.
I wonder if Larry would rather have a hard copy or an electronic copy.
He'd rather have a hard
That's a hard full-size copy.
Yep.
What's your best guess on when you're gonna be able to get those to Howard?
I'm hoping tomorrow. If they're not here tomorrow, then they'll be on his desk on Monday morning.
Okay, so sometime next week, puts us into, yep, now we're into February. Well, it's 27 pages, it's a good bit of information for Larry to swallow, and
A bunch of it is existing conditions. So
what do you think a reasonable amount of
But
time for
Larry
Larry to?
hasn't seen any
review?
of it yet, right?
End of February,
yeah, I think
I
he,
give them 3 months.
because he's
You
also,
said your ZBA thing's March, the beginning of March?
yes.
Okay. We have a March date?
March 13th or the 24th.
I'd give them another month. I'd give them
March.
3 months.
March 24th?
13th I'd prefer.
Well, if you listened to us last time, we wouldn't. Motion to continue?
We can always move it up again if need be.
You're making a motion to continue to the, what did you
So
say?
moved.
The 13th?
Yes.
3,
Second.
13.
Ooh, I missed out all the way.
Yeah, motion to continue by, that was,
Jim?
Tim moves to continue to 3/13/13, seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And hearing is continued to March 13th, 2013,
Is there
at
any,
7 PM.
is there any drop dead date on that that needs to be extended?
Yeah, I'll go back and look at the calendar from when we started the first public hearing.
Sounds like
It's
it's been a
120
while.
days to,
I'm not pushy. We just want to get this thing done.
Right.
Wait a minute.
I'm a small operation. If I had a whole lot more
Not gonna
resources
debate.
behind me, or where things were set up a little bit differently, this thing would be flying.
Takes a long time to permit stuff.
Well,
Gee, I think we've been saying that for a long time.
Okay,
You realize
moving
the
right
the date
on.
numbers are 31313.
Hey, it's good luck, all good luck. Okay, moving on to the MVPC Clean Energy Plan. I know you wanna stick around for that, Lou. Oh, you have to go?
sure.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Misery likes company.
Have Jewett Street, are we having that one?
yeah, I just want to briefly talk about the A and R.
MVPC Clean Energy Plan?
What about the 57 Jewett
57
Street?
Jewett.
Oh, you wanna do under the new business, or you wanna take on the old business first? Whatever you guys wanna do. Wanna bring up an A&R?
That's on the
Is it
list.
complete and full?
Probably quicker than,
Go for it. Do it, A&R.
Did we get the information that was necessary?
Is the application complete?
No, I've reviewed it. I'm just trying to give some information to the board about activities going on in the planning office, about the A and R submittal.
Okay, so there's an A&R submittal.
Oh, okay, so we're not, it's not, the A&R is not being presented to us.
There's an A&R submittal
No,
for
And I'll explain.
57 Jewett Street. And my understanding is the application is not complete.
Correct.
Application is not complete. So what is there to discuss? Why don't we bring this up at the next meeting? the application isn't complete, get a complete application, bring it to us. Is there anything else we have to deal with?
Okay.
Well, the thing is,
Okay, we'll chat
could
it out.
this be rejected instead of accepted?
Is there,
Because this is a stamped date on there. Don't we have to follow that? We have to,
We received the filing fee today from Bob. That's when we received his first application. Date stamped it again when we received his filing fee. And once the application is determined to be correct, that's when the 28-day required review period starts.
Okay, so we're making it very clear right now that as of January 23rd, 2013, the application is still not complete.
Right. He's absent some
And we're-
information on his drawing.
Putting that into the record, and let us know when it's complete. We'll start the clock ticking and we'll review it, right?
I just don't wanna
Well,
see a
the only-
constructive grant because of,
No, it won't.
no.
the only red flag in, that was just presented to me was, is there something about our A and R process that you're having difficulty with?
No.
Oh,
No.
I thought when you said I wanted to discuss the processes of A and Rs in the planning office.
No, I'm sorry if you misheard. I just wanted to discuss an activity going on in the planning office. We received an A&R. It wasn't deemed complete. It's under the same vein of thought that you like to see any green sheets or blue sheets that come through the planning office. That's all.
Just a heads
So you're
up.
going to advise Mr. Morehouse that it's not complete and advise him what information is deficient?
Yeah, already have. And he's going back to his engineer to update the drawings.
Perfect.
And my concern was that this date is January 7th. The clock ticks if this application goes to the town clerk and she stamps it, that's when the clock starts. It's not if it's complete, it's not if he didn't
No.
pay.
An incomplete application can be stamped all it wants to, but if it's not accepted by the board, and it's not accepted as complete, then it's not accepted.
See, we never followed that in the zoning board.
I think,
ZBA might be
Howard, to
different.
be on the safe side, I would copy your letter to Morehouse that that application is not complete to the town clerk.
Okay.
There you go.
Not that I think Mr. Morehouse would come in, but
No, but
it's
things
setting up
happen.
it's setting up a good process for us. That when we reject an application, that can otherwise have God forbid if something doesn't happen within the time frame, if we don't want anyone to think that was a properly submitted application. And I'm sure somewhere in the statute, it would read that that application has to be proper. Or you'd be having people running in with all kinds of stupid
Well, the
applications.
bylaws, I didn't read,
You know, but that will just cover it up. I mean, Mr.
I don't
Morehouse, as
think
far
it
as I'm
says
concerned,
proper though.
is a stand-up gentleman.
Submission of a completed application.
You know, his credibility, as far as I'm concerned, is without question.
Right,
So I'm not worried about him, I'm worried about our process.
Sure.
right.
No worries.
What we used to do with the zoning board, if it was incomplete and the clerk accepted it, we would open the hearing. Or we would, before that, we would call them up and say, if you want this hearing, you're gonna have to resubmit it and change the date and accept it, and they would initial
That's
it.
basically what
But
he's-
this is A&R processes, there is no hearing.
Yeah,
There's a
there is.
meeting, no, it's not a hearing.
It's a meeting,
It's a meeting, not a hearing.
It's not a hearing,
yeah.
yeah, so. that's the
Just happen to have the A&R handbook with me.
Oh, good. Let's move on. Let's move on to,
Yeah, let's
the
move on.
Merrimack Valley, what's it called, Clean Energy?
Right, Merrimack Valley Planning
it's a-
Commission issued a clean energy plan. I enclosed a copy of it electronically. It was requested from Tilly that it be forwarded on for the planning board's review and consideration as we start developing the solar energy and energy generation bylaws. There's a small section in there relative to Georgetown.
Page 40 and 41 and 42.
I also included in your packet a memo to municipal clients dated 2009, but it's a memorandum covering the Green Communities Act, and the Green Communities Act started this green energy initiative, a lot put out through the Department of Energy Resources. The Clean Energy Plan is somewhat of an offshoot of this as well. And I've spoken before about the DOER. Getting Georgetown designated as a green community allows us to apply for different renewable energy grants and studies and so forth. So it all ties in.
Howard, the Green Communities Grant and Loans Program, is there actually any money in that right now? I mean, I know this all initiated in 2009.
There is still money available. How much, I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
What would we be able to apply for?
Programs and grants to help fund improvements to municipal buildings. Solar energy on municipal buildings is a possibility.
How does this all tie into the Energy Committee and the, what was it?
Are they aware of it?
Well,
Yeah, I
and,
did
and this is,
notify one.
yeah,
member.
and this is something I believe maybe what we really need to do is look at the recommendations that came out of the MVPC,
The Clean Energy
the
Plan.
Clean Energy Plan. And I'll call your attention to page 42 of the plan, where it talks about recommendations for Georgetown, specifically for Georgetown. And there's just basically 3 bullet points. I don't know if you have that up there or not, Howard. It's, page 42 of the Clean Energy Plan. And it looks like that.
Yeah, so when I got it electronically, I was,
Keep going down, I think you have to
Another
go.
25 pages?
Yeah, a few more.
April?
There, it's April.
So you probably just passed it.
46, yeah, you just gotta go up 3.
I did question it with one member on that committee, and
Nope.
the first bullet that you have there about the dump.
That's Grove.
Did you say 43?
It's page 42.
Sorry.
There you go. That's us, that's our recommendations.
The first one, what this member told me was that, him and I think Wayne Snow, the electric department, manager, were on the dump, and I guess they could only dig 6 inches down. And I don't know, I asked further questions, what did they find? So I don't know.
Well,
But
there's a
they
rubber
said-
membrane over that, so you can't.
Yeah,
puncture
there's
the
a membrane there, that's true. So I don't know.
Well, it's saying here that Merrimack Valley Planning Commission did what they're terming a fatal flaw analysis
Yeah.
of Georgetown's capped and closed
No fatal
landfill.
flaws exist.
And that the solar BV for solar photovoltaics, no fatal flaws exist.
Yeah, that's,
And MVPC is recommending that the town work with the regional
regional renewable, say it 10 times fast.
I'll work on that. Regional Renewable Energy Manager to move forward with the development of a solar farm on the landfill.
Capital idea.
Who is currently filling the office of the Regional Renewable Energy Manager?
Most likely that's a staff position at Merrimack Valley Planning Committee.
Interesting. So, maybe what we need to do at this point is, who would we contact? Would this be the Board of Selectmen to forward this on? I mean, not that,
well, Mike is a member of the Energy Committee.
so we'd send this to the Energy Committee and.
Well, it'll be part of my research into a draft bylaw for the board as we start looking into the solar energy bylaw.
Mhm. I just wanna make sure that, the Energy Committee and the Board of Selectmen were made aware of these recommendations. The second bullet is, the town should work with MVPC to assess mass energy insight data in order to obtain current energy consumption data. I believe the Energy Committee's already working on that. and the town should consider the incremental adoption of the green communities criteria, with the goal of full adoption, becoming a green community. And, well, we certainly are moving in that direction. Beauty or efforts, Howard. Great.
You know, it's,
But what's interesting about the dump being a possible photovoltaic,
I think it's, I think, yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Even if it just provided enough power to power what the,
Light the lights and heat the little buildings, sure.
well,
Right.
just for the municipal buildings down on the DPW garage. Even if it just powered that, fed back into the grid.
We have a DPW? Oh, the highway.
Sorry, the
department.
highway department. I misspoke. My apologies.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Ray.
if I may. I also, it's very interesting seeing the cover letter by KMP, where it's addressed to the selectmen.
2009?
Yep, to the selectmen, the town administrator, and the planning board, that it informs the town of the energy audit program. And I'm wondering if our energy committee was aware of it and took advantage of it. Because I see it says that the program involves technical review of municipal buildings and facilities by DOER personnel, which I would imagine is at no cost, to identify methods of conserving energy, and will result in a list of projected improvement costs, potential energy savings for each building. The municipality may then apply for available grants or rebate programs through DOER.
Yeah, I don't know if we avail ourselves of that, or if we just,
I
Did something.
I believe the spin-off is at the Amoresco was retained, and then there's been improvements going on in all the municipal buildings.
It begs the question, Howard.
Not all the buildings.
This says,
Only
Not all
most
of them, but a lot of the municipal ones.
this
Yeah.
says that after they do it, that the municipality can then apply for grants or rebate programs. We're paying somebody to come in who's guaranteed the town a certain reduction in its
Energy costs.
energy
Right.
costs. This would be a grant that would pay for the payment of somebody to come in.
Right.
So,
That's a good thing.
it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think we missed the boat.
It's not only
Oh, I
We
think
missed the
we did.
boat a while ago.
It's
But-
not only good for municipalities, but residential as well. Which I thought that was really worthwhile for residents over so many feet. That they
Is that a
could-
height? So many feet
No,
tall?
so many square feet, I guess.
Oh,
They
okay.
can provide so many square feet of,
Nothing would make me happier
They
than to
would
get
do
my
an
house off
energy
the
audit
grid.
and then determine what was needed to preserve their energy expenses. And there's a grant to help pay for almost 50%. Say if you need a storm windows, it would be a 50% saving out of this grant for the homeowner. You know, and I think that would be well worth it.
Well, I know my water bill has been reduced significantly
Yeah,
with my rainwater collection system.
right.
oh, and you're not laying it on the lawn?
I mean, it's just,
And you can use this for water as well, preserving that, you know, so it's not only electricity that this is.
Can I ask, does anybody wanna send the, MVPC recommendations to the Energy Committee and the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
I move that we,
okay.
second.
They should have had a copy of it.
Yeah, they may, but it'll just be
Maybe.
a follow-up with the planning.
Maybe what we wanna do, so there's a motion to forward the recommendations only, not the entire.
no, but I think the whole section, because it does chart energy usage. And it might be a good idea.
It's the Georgetown section, the
Just
3
the
pages there.
Georgetown section. It might be a good idea to send them the, sections 1 through 4, because there's some background.
Yeah, I would.
But the thing
I
is,
agree.
it's germane to that group.
I agree.
They, you know, there needs to be some thinking about why are we doing this? What are our goals? How do we know whether we're succeeding? Because you can spend a lot of money saving money, and we don't want to do
I've
that.
always found if you send somebody more than 3 or 4 pages, you might as well
Send them a
send
link,
it all.
then, just send them a
Well,
link.
I would,
This is actually on the Merrimack Valley Planning Committee, Commission's website, so I could very easily send them a link and refer to certain pages.
Okay. Okay, motion by Bob to send the recommendations. Is there a second?
it was seconded, discussion?
Seconded by whom? I'm sorry?
Me.
Chris seconds? Discussion.
Yes, I would ask that maybe my colleague would rephrase
What do you want him to do, Chris?
his motion and add to it that, and to advise us of the action that they took. Send it to the Board of Selectmen and ask them to advise us, so we don't just send it up there and it gets lost in limbo. We can follow up.
Maybe the best thing would be a letter that Howard may write, quoting the recommendations and attaching a link. Maybe that might be the way to go.
And ask selectmen.
What they'd like to do about the dump.
And
Yeah,
this
what-
one is good too, the wastewater treatment plant on page 15.
Yeah, there's a lot of good
That's
stuff.
right.
There's a lot of good
I
stuff.
tend to agree with Bob that
Oh, my God.
you know, that, and
Now
it
we're in
is,
trouble, huh?
and it is a lot, all the way, it goes all the way up to page 27.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that the first 27 pages,
Yeah.
that they be
Send
at
a
least
link to
asked
that.
to review the first 27 pages of the 58-page document at that link.
Because I think that, I
Because it
agree.
explains, you know,
Yeah,
what
what's the
monies are
context, what
available, and,
right.
you know, what are we getting ourselves into, what commitment are we making if we say we wanna be a green community.
What's the payback, yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't see a lose on the end of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think that there are companies that come in and build it.
Sure.
And you don't lay out any money.
Well, yeah, there are. Amoresco came in and they get paid back with the energy savings that
Right.
you require. So they're up front and their return.
Right, but
Comes
it means
through
we
the-
don't have to lay out any money initially.
Right.
To get the farm built.
But we,
To get the farm bill. Oh, all right. I thought you were talking about the monitoring program.
No, to get the farm built.
Right.
I think there are several companies that are actually laying out the money to build it. And
Right.
then you pay back, you pay
You
them
lease it.
X amount of dollars per kilowatt hour, which increments up over the course of time. But at the end of everything, you end up saving a lot of money. They lay it out, they make it pretty, I know Amesbury recently took advantage of that, Newburyport's taken advantage of it.
And they're, I mean, they're,
So we're sending a letter and
yeah, and they, I mean,
they're all exactly what you're gonna send to them?
Yeah.
And recommendations about the dump and everything that's been mentioned? Anything you'd like to add? Chris?
yeah, and that they let us know what action,
Right.
if any, that they took.
Please get back to us with any potential action that may be taken.
Yep.
Anything else? Bob?
No?
Good? Okay, all in favor of sending the letter?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. And we've got the pre-conference checklist. Oh, we have the pre-conference checklist. Evidently, something morphed there from what we were working on. Did anybody get a chance to look at that?
Where is it?
It's Exhibit 3.
Originally, the construction meeting checklist was just to be visited in terms of concerns that were, came out of the Stone Row Lot 14 discussions, meets and bounds and monumentation. I coordinated with.
Utility placement. That was.
Right. That
I don't have
has
any
been
for
incorporated into
I'm
this,
trying to
but
find it myself.
also with comments, received by, Chris Rich. And additional comments received by the site inspecting engineer. I sent in PDF format, a colored version because, and you can see up on the screen, blue text with the strikeout is existing
Right at the
text. And the inspecting engineer in red would be what would be brought into its place.
Howard, it looks to me like you've made a lot of good changes here. This is all, and this all basically came about with a desire by the board to ensure that the pre-construction agreement essentially made it very, very clear to the developer that the proper location of the utility, regardless of who is installing the utilities, as the developer subcontractor, that developer was ultimately responsible for the correct location. And could you cut through a lot of the,
Look on
The
page
changes?
2 at the bottom, item number 15.
thank you.
Written in red, as it represents what's going to be added to that. Utility placement shall not conflict with installation of lot boundary monuments in the type specifically designated by the planning board without the express written permission of majority vote of the planning board. If no monument type is specified, the default shall be granite bounds set 3 feet into the ground with not less than 6 inches exposed above final grade.
I think that's fine. Call your attention to, paragraph number 9 there. And it's, we seem to have some red. ECP, erosion control program approved by who? Is that a question that's
The-
being asked by you? by-
Any text you see contained within red paragraph was a question posed by Chris Rich,
Oh, okay.
and he wanted it answered. And so the erosion control program,
Is it Concom's responsibility?
right through the order of conditions.
Or through, chapter 57. permit.
Okay.
Okay. I noticed that the
Yeah, I just
inspector is questioning what the breaking strength of the concrete and the slump.
I questioned it.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
That red is mine, where it says the
Gotcha.
continuous checking
Number
of
23 on
pavement
page 3?
or concrete placement during sidewalk construction. And I put concrete minimum PSI and slump. We must have something in, required
Subdivision standards.
specifications. Yeah, and the standards for,
4,000.
is it 4,000?
was
Yeah, I
close,
would imagine it's
4,000.
gotta be 4,000 pounds.
I
got
passed
that
that by Dave Varga, and he said he'll be enforcing whatever is on the plans. So
Well, you
if the
know,
plans
these
are either going to be
Well, no, I know where you're getting from, Chris, but you're talking about,
They don't put on the plan that it's 4,000, that's in the specs.
that it should be in.
It should be-
in the regulations.
It should be required that that's the minimum spec.
Yeah.
For if they're putting concrete sidewalks in. That are minimum
in the
spec.
specification of the construction plans or in the subdivision regulations.
All of
In
the
regs.
above.
In the
Should
regs.
be everything.
Should just be in the regs. Actually, the easiest, quickest, fastest, least painful way to put that in is to make it a note on the sketch that shows the profile for the subdivision roadway. That would be the easiest way to do it.
I have a problem with the initials. What's PSI?
Pounds per square inch.
Pounds?
Yeah, when he's talking about concrete minimum, what he's talking about is, after you pour concrete, while you're pouring it, you pour a cylinder of it, literally a cylinder of concrete, and then that's taken to a testing outfit, they put it in a ram, and with a meter, and after it's cured for a certain number of hours, 24 hours, they break it, and they see how many how much force it was required to break it. So, you know, that if you have, you know, very, very soft, yucky concrete that had too much water, too much sand in it, or if it was really concrete. And those are standards. When he's talking about the slump, that's the application, how far it drops. If you drop it in a cone that's a foot tall, how far down it drops. But it's a sidewalk. You're not pouring a wall.
I think that's what should be in parentheses, though, pounds per square inch.
Minimum breaking strength of 4,000 psi or 3,500, whatever. You know what? I think what you want is you'd want something from your construction inspecting engineer. Right? You'd get a recommendation from him.
I just want to note back on item 15. I discussed this when I was discussing this with Dave Varga. He said it's fine to be here, just make sure that they're also in your approval with conditions.
The inspection engineer shall check road sub-base prior to placement of base gravel. Contractor or his.
Item number
engineer-
15.
Oh, I'm on 16, sorry. Utility, location of electric, telephone cable, television trench shall be checked for horizontal and vertical requirements. Sounds good. Contractor is to provide an instrument and assistant to aid the building inspector to confirm compliance with the approved plan. Utility placement, is the red the new wording?
The red's the new wording, and he said just it would be smart to have that in the approval with conditions as well.
Sure.
Of what you're going to do.
Well, I think we could
Did you have that?
automatically incorporate everything in here with one sentence in the approval, in the list of conditions in the approval.
Bear in mind where the pre-construction agreement came from. Frequently what happens is the developer comes in, gets a permit, hands off to a builder. The developer is nowhere to be seen. The only one that's on the job site is the builder. And the builder has no idea what the decision looks like, or claims to not know what the decision looks like. By having a pre-construction meeting, you bring the developer in, the builder in, the inspecting engineer in, the planner in. They go through this bullet by bullet, check it all off, and there's a place for a signature for the developer at the end, that he understands all of it, and that it was made clear to everybody in the field. This appears to be a checkoff for a pre-construction meeting. I don't remember it as that. We always referred to it as the pre-construction agreement, and hence the signatures, the signature page at the end.
I think also that sections 6 through
6?
34, if there's any 34, should, as a matter of form, be part of any and all of our decisions. I think they're generic enough. And Howard, I understand your comment in blue on my additions to,
Where are ya? Which number?
I'm looking at, I was just gonna say paragraph 33. But I think we need to know at the outset of an application the developer's intentions, whether or not they're going to be applying for acceptance of the proposed streets as a public way. And we need to let them know that it is their if so, it's their responsibility to produce at their expense to the planning board in recordable form the reservation and such fee for such way.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. Agreed.
The appropriate place for that is in the decision.
Well, I just said, we incorporate 6 through 30
Yeah, well-
as a matter of form.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Just plug them all in, so any decision that comes out,
yeah, I guess I could agree to it.
I mean, we're gonna tell everybody that if you look at all of it, it's just generic to any and all projects that we would, if we issue a decision that doesn't have this, I think we're remiss. So if we make it boilerplate part of every decision, and then we as a board can redact anything out of it as we see fit at the time of the decision, it shouldn't fall through any cracks.
Won't hurt.
That way somebody can come in and say,
The
well,
blue is your,
the
ad?
red's mine,
The
the
red's
blue
yours.
is Howard.
Okay, so look, can we hit with 30? Can we go to 30 for a minute?
Yeah, I wanted to discuss that with Howard too, cause
After preliminary site meeting, all scheduling will be done through the planner.
What, in paragraph 30, what you see in blue text with the cross out is what's existing,
Yeah,
and what's being proposed is the red text. But then at the bottom, what you see in the paragraph is the question that Chris raised, and what I wrote in the blue paragraph is the response actually that I got from Dave Varga.
so, Chris, you're asking, can we have a minimum benchmark list of inspection intervals?
Mm-hmm. We should,
Yeah.
we know that the inspections have to be not less than pre-pavement of the street, binder coat,
Top coat.
top coat, curbing, and that's what I meant.
Well, subsurface ground, water, moving your water,
Yeah, anything that we know
your piping, yeah.
goes into any project, the list.
And you know, you're saying it, Chris, the list is there. I mean, it's starting.
Dave Varga
it's
saw the
starting
list
with
as being these
14.
items.
Yeah,
Right.
it's bulleting it out just about all the items.
I think he was.
Starting at
I think he
14.
was viewing Chris's idea of a benchmark list of inspection intervals. He was voicing concern of being out there unnecessarily.
Well, I'm looking at it, I'm saying, this is not a clerk of the works issue, and now that Harry brings it up, I'm more comfortable now that I see that there's daily site visits during the active installation of the utilities, water, sewer, drainage, etc. I think that would cover it.
Okay.
Explain what you meant by not a clerk of the works.
Clerk of the works represents usually the owner, to make sure, he's an owner's representative, to make sure that each and every item is done properly.
Well, why wouldn't he be involved with the scheduling?
Well, that would be our inspecting engineer. And under 14, as Harry pointed out, the inspecting engineer is going to be doing it
Along with.
on a
15,
daily visit
16.
while it's being actively done.
31 looks new to me. I don't remember seeing that anywhere.
Which one?
31. We didn't know we were getting a monthly summary of all subdivisions under construction. That's brand new to me. I don't remember ever
We
seeing that.
discussed that we wanted to see it.
I don't remember seeing that in the old agreement.
Oh, yeah, we did that. We did that when Nick was here.
Okay.
When we had some problems with the vague.
Yeah, I understand. So are we leaving number 33 there? Or is that this the
I would-
appropriate place for that?
I would ask that it stay there, because I'm also going to be kind of adamant that we include 6 through 33, and if there's
In the
anything
decision.
in the decision, yes.
Yep, I hear you.
So that brings it into the decision.
So we'd have that in the decisions template, and I get that, and I'm all for that. Is everybody good with that? That we'll include that in our standard conditions? Good, Tilly?
Yeah.
My concern, and my only concern is that we're gonna put that in, and we're gonna have that in the decision. And I don't want to
I want
have,
them- I want them to agree.
Well, I don't want any disagreement there. I don't wanna give the developer the idea that at this point, now that he has the permit and you're moving forward, and now you're gonna get a second shot at deciding whether it's gonna be private or public.
Uh-uh.
Do you see what I'm saying? Remember where
Look what it
this
says.
comes in.
That the applicant or developer state that it is their intention.
I think maybe,
They have to commit at that point.
oh, I think they've committed long before that
With the
with the
decision,
decision.
because they didn't appeal it.
Yeah. I think maybe for the, not for in the decision, that wording's fine.
I
I
hear
like
what you're
that.
saying, and yeah.
But for this, I think maybe
If
you
it's
might
in
wanna
our
look at it.
decision, if it's in our boilerplate decision, I don't have a problem with it being removed from here.
Yeah, well, I don't even have to remove it, I would just suggest that what you do is you change it to the applicant or developer has stated that it is their intention, and then Howard circles A or B or crosses out the one that doesn't go. Doesn't
I
apply.
agree, very good.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying there, Howard?
Mm-hmm.
In
I
other
think
words,
that's a good,
it's
that's a
a,
good
Yeah,
it's
call.
a
they have-
resta-
it's
more of a
reaffirming it.
The
restatement.
thing is, intention is in the future.
Yeah, it's a
And what we're
reaffirmation.
talking about here is an affirmation of a decision
That was-
and a commitment.
I like it.
I never heard of number 12,
Well,
that you couldn't bury without permission.
oh, burial stumps and woody debris. Oh,
No, 12.
Burial of boulders in
24
excess of 24
Boulders,
inches.
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
never heard anybody,
Think of the
you know
voids
the
that it
void you're
caused.
gonna have with that once the water hits it. Yeah, all the, none of them will line up, and there'll be nothing but air under there. Then you throw this 12 inches of dirt on the top, and next thing you know, it's getting paved.
I wonder if even the inspector goes looking through that. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure he does ground
I
penetrating
mean, all
radar.
of the subdivisions, I never saw that addressed.
Should have been.
We got a lot of them.
How, just for my information, when were these initially adopted?
These aren't the typical Form A, Form B, Form C. These are, as I understand it, these are administrative forms established by the planning board as a means for them to document the
It's a fluid document that can be changed at any time.
Or do you know when it was initially, just,
I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, and it was right,
During Nick's tenure?
was it right after Blarney? Blarney Court?
I think there
It
was
was right after Blarney
something
Court
that
got built,
precipitated
right?
it.
Yeah. Not that there's any direct relation between Barney Court and that, but just, it seemed like the right thing to do at that point.
was that like 10 years ago?
No
5
way,
years
no way,
Almost, isn't it already?
no.
So if there's a
By no
consensus of the board that the proposed
Last 4 years.
substitutions and changes and revisions in here are correct, I'd like to be able to just finalize this, because we have all these set up as a template. So I'll
So
just
why don't you do it?
do it if everything meets with.
You want a motion?
Expectations.
I would move that
Anybody
we,
have an objection?
I'd move that we accept it as discussed.
Seconded.
And then approved and question, or discussion.
Motion by Chris to approve the new wording
Yep, and changed as discussed,
on the
in particular 33.
pre-construction meeting agreement. Second?
I seconded.
Oh, I'm slow tonight, Tim. Tim seconds.
My
Discussion.
My question is, do we wanna take a final look at it once all the colors are gone, once all the strikeouts are gone, and just make sure that it's,
Well, keep in mind that we can change this anytime.
It's a fluid
It's not like we
document,
have to have
you
a,
know, we can do it at a meeting, we don't have to post anything.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, very
Yeah.
good.
so,
Do we wanna put a revision date every time we make a
Yes.
revision
I
on
think we
these
should.
oh, add a
things?
revision date. That's a great idea. That's a
Sure
great
is.
idea.
Cause we were just saying.
It's funny
when
though,
did-
we'd be telling
when
Wendy
did-
to do
when
this.
did
She's
we-
gonna be doing all the work.
question, when
I
did
got-
we
I have a
We
fun-
always do
initiate this?
revision dates. I like to know the
Timothy, good
progress of
catch.
things.
Nice, good.
Doesn't say much, but what he
Any,
says
anything?
counts.
Tilly? Chris, anything else to add? Anything else?
Oh, would you like a motion to adjourn?
No, I'd like to call the question.
Oh,
I'm gonna approve that, and just like to add that when it's all done, PDF would send it out to us so we can all check it out and make sure we have a copy of it if you wouldn't mind. Wendy,
Yes.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. One final, well, two final. Capital Improvement Planning Committee, Howard, would you please? Why is that on there? My understanding was someone was under the impression that we did not have, I don't remember the email, but someone was under the impression that we hadn't appointed a member to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
No,
The
just, I
appointment was
needed
wrong or something?
I needed confirmation of who the planning board's appointment was.
Okay,
You thought it was me.
no, Mike Howard,
Mike
Michael
Howard.
Right.
Howard,
And his tenure is good till June of this year.
June, yeah, 2013, right? Yeah.
So it was
Because
just
it was 3 years
suggested
ago
that
that we
if
did
we
it.
reach out to him and see if he's
Oh,
gonna.
that's a great idea. Why don't
if
you
he's
touch
gonna re-up.
base with him?
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
4 months away.
Is he active
Absolutely.
in CIP?
As I understand, the CIP hasn't really been active because of the funds, but now there's more funds in there that
You
can
got a
be
lot of
used.
funds.
CIP came before town meeting and said that they recommended that the highway department got their new equipment, that the school department got their tractor and aerator for their new AstroTurf. God knows, we have to aerate the AstroTurf. Yeah, you heard me.
yeah, I can't believe that.
So I'll reach out to.
I don't remember CIP reporting to town meeting. CIP reports to FinCom solely, is my understanding.
Well,
But I may
didn't-
be wrong on
Didn't
that.
someone get up and say, I specifically remember, didn't Lieutenant Cudmore get up and say that the CAP recommended it?
I don't recall that. But those recommendations don't come to us anymore. When the bylaw was changed a couple of years ago, the recommendations for Capital Improvement Planning Committee go directly to the FinCom.
Oh, lucky them. I'd
Well,
rather come
we
before
don't
us
need to take
anytime.
we don't need to take an action until sometime
In June?
around May or something like
Yeah.
that. And
I would
you're gonna
reach out.
find out if Mr. Howard wishes to continue. to
Michael
be-
Howard, right?
Mike Howard, not-
is still
No relation.
interested in.
So we
in
know, no
serving.
relation.
If not, Tim will do it.
All right.
Yeah. If not, we'll throw Tim on.
No.
Yeah.
We'll do it at a
We'll
meeting
just
he's
wait
not
until we're
here.
one of the meetings. if you're not
So you'll get here at 7:20. Couldn't we schedule that for 7:10?
7:18 vote, should be all done, we'll have the form filled out and signed. Okay, capital improvement. Good, one final last thing, probably the most
I think I
important.
have to sign on for that.
Most
How
important
you have
for
to be
us.
sworn in,
Yeah.
you just never show up to get it made, right?
The budget.
Fiscal year
Speaking of
2014 budget,
Speaking of
the
FinCom,
draft.
are you presenting that at FinCom, Mr. Chairman?
Howard's big boy now, he can stand on his own, he's got his big boy pants now. I was only there at the last meeting because, you had, what, 3 days under your belt there or something like that?
Yeah.
Now you have some serious experience. It's all you. It's all your budget. I have very little input into this. As a matter of fact, I'm somewhat confused by it because, well, if you could explain how we've gone from the old code identification numbers to
The
newer ones.
Unified Massachusetts Accounting System gives out some new numbers, and that's what the UMass is shown up on the top.
I'm not even.
Some of the numbers
finding
remain
it
the
yet.
same and some shift a little bit.
There we go.
Can you put it up there? Oh, it is up there.
Nice. Yeah.
So
It's very, very.
Back a little?
everything to the left of the hand on the screen is the format that the budget needs to be presented to FinCom with. They're trying to standardize this year. And everything on the right, over in this area, is the breakdown that the planning board would be more knowledgeable about, because all these categories are what the last year's budget were formed in.
Those are all our old category numbers.
Right,
The
referencing.
5700s, the 5300s, yeah. 50, yep, okay. Howard, in a nutshell, because, well, we can certainly get into as much detail as the board wishes to get into.
Right.
But in a nutshell, it is looking like, up the top, we have the salaries and wages.
Right.
There's essentially no change there, right?
The personal services total, there is an increase to that, which is, the town department's salary lines will be increased by 2.5%.
That was voted at town meeting, that's across the board, every person.
Everybody's
non-salary.
paid.
Right.
Right.
Getting back to that, if you could.
So
The
that's a
temporary
s-
2,000, that was the 2,000 that we always have in case we need to do outside minutes taking.
Correct.
We've always had that, so that's not an
That's a
increase.
temporary position, and
Yep.
obviously there won't be a salary increase to that.
Yep, so aside from that 78,546 figure there, we get down here to the, what is our total budget
Our total budget here,
for non,
purchase of services. This item up here, salary, is line item 11,752, and this total up here is 11,751. So, if it's not salary, it all falls into this category.
right, services,
Right.
purchase and services.
Purchase of services total is $9,900.
So we have a budget of $10,000.
Right, which is a
When you take out
decrease from
salary.
last year.
That's
Because-
what I'm bringing up. That's, what kind of a decrease is that? Do you have the percentage?
From
From last year's requested budget,
last year's
FY
requested and approved budget was 16. This is down to 10, so it's
16K. This year.
40%.
Okay. Bob, you're better than a percentage, you're real numbers. We were 16K, now we're slightly under 10K. Any questions?
I just want to note the reason for that is last year you had items that aren't being purchased this year. The pictometry, that's a one-time
Still a
thing.
reduction, Howard.
Yep.
Right. Art view.
Still a reduction.
So this is the 2014 budget request. It's just under 10K for services and purchases, and 78.5 for a salary.
And I just want to note in here quickly that this budget now includes items that weren't present last year. The
Would you highlight it for us?
Esri, ArcGIS, the annual maintenance of 700.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy and I went through and
Well, wasn't that in last year's request?
that
was how it started,
That
right?
$700 maintenance was rolled into the purchase price of
Gotcha.
Arcview.
Gotcha.
And we've gone through, Wendy and I, and we've increased a couple of items after review of expenditures from last year. There's a slight increase in office equipment.
I notice our consultant fees are up a little for the legal,
Right, they're up a little bit.
Yep.
Um,
but those are the fees, correct me if I'm wrong, that we use when we have town council review some of the streets that we need to have accepted at town meeting.
right.
So that's where those legal fees come from. Great.
What's the decrease there? ZBL, is it, or kids he took it?
There's a decrease in publications because several items have gone to online and not hard print, and their fees are lower.
The other ones, is that ZBL?
ZBL is a line item from last year. And I wanted clarification from the board on this. I looked up ZBL, and it was not for zoning board or anything else. It was for office cleaning and other non-stationary type of items. So
I always thought it was the printing of the zoning board booklet,
then
the zoning law booklet. That was
zoning-
my understanding.
okay.
That was the amount we used to print the zoning, any changes in the zoning law. chapter 165, when we printed those, in the old days, when you actually printed a packet.
Right.
And we'd keep 10, 20 booklets in the closet in case someone came in and said, hey, I'd like to buy one, and they'd
Well,
give us
now
money,
it's-
and we do
it's
that.
done,
Now it's electronic,
as needed, so there's
It's-
$50 there that
yeah,
could,
it's a great difference now. I mean, now you just print a PDF and
Bucks
say,
isn't gonna
go.
break the budget.
Or
You
send it to
already have
Staples.
that line there as increasing it to 150, so now
Where are you, Tilly? I'm sorry?
you got the zoning bylaw upgrade.
that's with
Oh, that's the
E-code.
printing with the E-code, okay. But the printing, where's the printing in the zoning book?
That was, what we just talked about.
was this line here.
And where's the printing of the, oh, I see, subdivision regs.
Yeah, that stays the
Same.
same.
Office supplies are 100. What do we have for upgrading computer equipment? Where are
That would
we? Show me
be,
where we are.
office equipment, that's at, 300.
That's this line, 5850,
Right.
$300. Okay.
Is that enough?
I think you should all discuss that, especially in light of the problems that Wendy was having with the computer.
That's why I'm asking, is that
Yeah.
enough?
You might want to chat that out with the board. Excuse me.
We would like it to be more. I'm using an old printer that might leave this world sometime in the next year, but those are about $100. Replacing Wendy's machine would be beneficial because I could take that old one and use it for the presentations and not have to borrow the AV. It's not a necessity.
You had mentioned a file that you wanted for Wendy cabinet.
Yeah, Wendy needs a 2-drawer, but that's not under a separate item.
Is this
Which item?
office supplies, is that what we're talking about right now?
Office supplies, stationery, and,
No,
and the
but
file
where
cabinet.
is the computer?
That's under office equipment at the bottom,
The $300.
the $300.
Office equipment, there it is, okay. I think you're way undervalued there. I think you should be,
We're thinking about $350 for if a new laptop or something.
keep going. I think you should have $800 there, minimum.
I'm sorry, what did I miss?
You are now the new
I'm the new-
CIP representative.
I think all we're gonna
We
do
were
that to you.
discussing the office equipment number, and
The 300?
yeah, my knee-jerk reaction is talking about possibly a printer, a new machine for Wendy, and a laptop.
No, Wendy's desktop is fine. That's my old one. We're just talking a new laptop for her for minute taking, and I would take the old one and use it for the simple task of
Okay,
overhead projection.
so a printer, a laptop, and
File cabinet.
A 2-drawer file cabinet.
what color?
Still hopping on that file cabinet?
No, I've
What color?
Oh, wow.
I've stopped those tiers.
Wendy, what color?
Wendy's-
Wendy
Lateral,
wants it. Get it.
lateral or regular?
Two-drawer upright,
Lateral?
yeah, just a little
You want a-
A
two-drawer,
rollout.
yeah.
Something that'll fit underneath
And I don't
your
care if it's
desk,
pink
right?
or purple
mean,
or,
If it'll fit under your desk?
no, I think I'd
No?
end up putting it to the side, cause I think
Oh.
my feet and my knees would hit it.
You
if
have
I
room
had it
for a
there.
lateral? You know what a lateral is?
I've got room behind
It's
me
the
for a
wrong
lateral.
You
But hers is more for some personal space.
I have no place to put, I have no personal space at all, my purse is on the floor,
Well, if we if you put the lateral behind his desk,
and I have
You
to
can
walk
guide
over
your
there, he'll steal my money.
I understand.
Well,
Might
yeah,
take you
that's
lunch.
true.
If I get a lateral
You might take your
behind my
lunch or
desk,
something,
I can
huh?
clean out the files that exist in my
Oh, and your
2-drawer,
yeah.
and I can give that to Wendy.
When can you come to my house and pick it up? There's an empty gray one sitting at my house. I will donate the use of it.
Green, avocado green.
No, it's gray.
Oh, great. All right.
Battleship gray.
I just need a truck.
Feel free to bring your own spray paint. Back to this. The
I can
5850
stop by
office
sometime
equipment.
next week.
What's your best estimate, Wendy Howard, for purchase of new equipment that we think we might need? And bear in mind, if we don't need it, it's a request, it goes on the budget. If we don't spend the money, then
This
it rolls
breakdown
back
is,
at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would like.
But if we don't have it in
I
the
would
budget,
like
we
to
can't
see-
buy it.
I would like to see not less than $800 in there.
So,
And I don't
these-
think
these numbers
number
in
to
line
800?
items
Yes.
are just for planning board, planning office control.
Mhm.
When it comes to the town, they just care about those two line items,
I
the
understand.
salary and non-salary.
I understand
So
that. but I
if we
wanna
go
make
over
sure-
a little bit on office equipment, we just find it from a different place.
Yeah, but I don't wanna have to rob Peter to pay Paul.
And at the end of the year, if it goes back, it goes back.
How much
So
did we
can you
return
modify
last
that?
year?
Can you modify that equipment number 5850 to change the 300 to, what did you say, Chris, 800?
800.
Anybody have an objection to that by unanimous consent? You go with that, Tim? Changing that to 800?
Is that
Think
what-
that's a reasonable
is that
amount
what
for
a
office
laptop-
equipment?
Is that what a laptop and a printer cost?
That sounds about right.
Well,
Laptop, 5, 6, 7, yeah. They'll give you a printer. You buy enough printer cartridges.
We always return money. Do you remember what the number was that we returned last year?
No, I have no.
Yeah,
But I'm
but
sure
it,
I wanna make sure you got enough money in the
Yeah, I
budget.
just
I
wanna make
don't
sure
want
that-
you to be scratching your head.
800 I think is adequate.
Is that adequate for
Yeah.
what? You good with that?
Yep.
Great.
And I recall from early conversation, the printing for the zoning board books,
Mhm.
should that just come out now? It's being held to $50. We don't even use the printer anymore. So.
Oh, don't give up money that you already have.
Yeah.
If we
All
don't use it, we're gonna be returning it.
Oh, I'll tell you this much, if we had better understanding of what that line item actually was, if you had trouble finding out what that line item was,
I just carried that number over from last year.
Okay.
So that's why I asked the
I-
board what ZBL
that's my
stand
understanding
for.
what that
But
was.
you say
Zoning
there's a
board labor.
decrease from,
Yeah, we dropped it to 200, right?
Right.
you dropped it $200.
This 200 to, okay. Oh, but as far as this number's concerned for office equipment, replacement of the old office equipment, Bob, are you good with that? Going from 300 to 800?
Yeah.
Tilly, you all right with that?
Sure. That's really only 400 from last year, cause he took off 2 there and
Yeah.
2 there.
Yeah, we're,
So it's really only 4.
we've saving the town $5,000 there, which is essentially 50% of the budget. We chopped it by a third,
Mhm.
right? I
Right.
think that's pretty good.
Right.
And that's-
The one thing to keep in mind is
that's-
if you're gonna replace a laptop, you really don't wanna buy a bargain basement box. Just, I mean, it's just not a good buy,
Agreed.
so.
That was everything with us in the budget. So
So, by unanimous consent, with the change of that, you'll be sending that, or do you have something else?
Nope.
You good with that, Howard?
Yeah.
Make that change and ship it out? I don't know what's on the agenda for you as far as that. What do you bring that to the?
I bring that to FinCom.
What did they ask me this time? They usually have different budgets to have.
Do we need a
Level
motion?
funded
Do we
one
need a
or-
motion?
I think everybody's the same as last year, level funded. So,
So you can't really
You
have
might.
any changes.
Okay.
or increases need to be funded. So, proposed budget. funding.
Usually it's for 3.
I'll hear a motion now
I've
to
just
have
gotten this
Howard
one.
present.
To designate Howard as the planning board representative to present the budget
Budget
as
as amended
amended this evening to the
by the board.
finance committee.
Second.
Seconded by Tim.
That
Comments,
meeting ought to be
questions?
in the first weekend of February. I think it's February 9th.
Yeah, I saw it on the,
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous.
I
Did
have
someone
just
second
a quick, you asked me if I
Yeah,
talked
somebody
to
did,
Jim
I don't know
Rogers.
Oh, gee whiz.
And I.
How'd that work out?
I did get a hold of him, and
Great.
he'd like to keep the street name the same.
What we're currently calling
Jewel
it,
Street.
Rogers.
He said he didn't even put that there, that some guy, Belkins, that used to have the tractor
Oh, the
repair
tractor, yeah,
place,
tractor
put that
tractor.
sign up one day. And he says it's gone now anyway. So, I
Do you have
guess,
anything to
I
add
guess
as
Kenny
far as-
Kump felt similar, that the cost to change letterhead and all that over to whatever.
Sure,
street
sure,
it
that's
might be.
being delivered and everything, yeah.
But he did say that Kenny oftentimes runs into problems with explaining to people where he is
I imagine he would, yeah.
Yeah.
because of the, and I said, well, that's the trade-off. If that's what you guys want, that's what you got. But
Interestingly enough, I wonder what happens if you pull out a GPS and you say, what is it, Rogers? Rogers Way?
Sawmill. Oh,
No,
Rogers Way.
Rogers Way, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it
Yeah,
was.
Rogers Way.
He's gonna email a letter to the planning office
Great,
with comments.
great. That's fantastic. Because the
But he's
reason
not
I
at-
ask about Rogers Way showing up on a GPS, I put in Hazen Court in a regular, I don't know, what was it, Tom or Jack Garmin or something. And it showed that street as Hazen Court.
He's not concerned about like upgrading the road or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. That was another thing that was discussed, what people might, I think Cynthia Bateman was
if
wanting
his-
a road upgrade, but that's not.
Is he aware that if Rogers Way becomes the street, he has to change his deed? Because his deed right now is Jewett Street.
Right, that's why he doesn't want Rogers Way.
Oh, okay.
He wants to keep it as
I don't think you have to change it.
Whatever I would want to say.
think
and
you
just
have to-
deal
you
with
do
the
it if you
confusion
sold.
of,
Oh,
You would-
I
you would formally.
misunderstood you then. You said it the other way around.
If he wants
He
to
wants
keep
it as Jewett
Jewett
Street.
Street.
yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that what I said?
Oh, no, I thought, I
kinda
got the
thought-
impression that he wanted it
Well,
as
that's what
Rogers
I-
Lane.
that's
And Kenny wants it as Jewett?
Yeah,
Kenny come?
yeah, they both do.
Yeah,
They
we're
wanna
going on.
maintain
That's
it
what
the
I
same
understood
as
you
what
said.
it is currently, which their address
It's
supposedly.
Jewett Street.
Supposedly, that's what, now he owns,
But we're
he
getting a
owns a
letter,
White
though,
House
right?
down at the end of the dead end that,
Mm-hmm.
he uses as a rental, and he doesn't really care what that's called, but he just thinks his
Kenny
preference.
comes rental.
Yeah,
So we're gonna get a letter from,
he's gonna send a letter, an email to the
Mr.
planning
Chairman, one other comment if I can, I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
Sorry.
On
I
the,
gotta get it on the desktop.
on the letter that's going to Eichmann,
to town council regarding,
yes.
site plan approval for Pembroke
Yeah,
School.
and I don't know if this is one of the questions we're gonna pose to him, but I would throw this out to my colleagues.
Oh, where did it all go?
It's a very simple question.
Hang on a second, Chris. Are we having computer issues,
no.
Wendy?
We're fine.
No, it's me, it's you, the rubber. I'm tired.
Oh, okay. Okay, with respect to Pembroke and the letter,
Yeah.
what were we saying, Chris? I'm sorry.
I would recommend this isn't the question, just this very simple question. Is new construction of a school facility subject to site plan approval?
It's a nice succinct way of putting the question.
If not, why? If so, what exactly is covered?
Ask the question 4 different ways, we're bound to get an answer.
Right.
The problem is we're gonna get 4 different answers. But I think that's a nice succinct way of.
Yeah, it's,
Keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
and if we get back, it depends.
Then I changed my depends.
On that note, did I hear you make a motion to adjourn,
I
Chris?
have
Yes.
I have 2 questions. One is on the agenda. It says that we have a meeting on 3/24, and that should be 3/27. And the other question is about the material that we got, I guess at the last meeting, on the solar and wind. I've been holding on to that. Is this material, what's the intended use of this? I mean, I don't wanna try to memorize this.
No, it's to review because the planning office is gonna be developing draft bylaws. And it's gonna be borrowing from some of those other
Okay.
ones.
All right.
So,
I'll hold on
read
to
it,
this and-
come familiar with I think it's more read it and come familiar with the concepts and how they're structured and why some may be by as of right and some may be by special permit.
Is that in the electronic
Every-
packet? Okay.
Remind everybody about
I
the
keep all
site,
of those.
site that we're going up,
Sidewalk and Saturday.
we're going up to yours on Saturday.
And
At 11.
10.
11,
See, you remembered, all right.
10, yeah.
I'm just testing.
Chris, you gonna be able to do it?
Yes.
10 o'clock on
Yep, I'll
Saturday.
be there at 8:30.
Now, question.
Now, Narino Way is awful long. That's where the company's currently
Yeah.
located.
Off
Across
of,
from the
was it
apartment.
Longview?
Yeah, there's no street sign for Narino Way, but,
Yeah, it's that basically Narino Way is his driveway.
right. It's funny, there used to be a
Try to-
street sign.
Come on, we're on the planning board, we can find it.
I'll call you, Harry.
Put it in your GPS.
Do you wanna follow me?
No. I went up there last Saturday. I thought it was last
I
Saturday.
move we adjourn this
no.
meeting.
Motion by,
I already made that
by
motion.
I
Bob
second it.
and seconded by Chris to adjourn.
Ow.
All in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries
Good job, Mr. Moser.
unanimously. And see you all. When's our next meeting?
2 weeks.
When's that? No, I don't think so. Is it? What do you have down there?
2:13.
On February 13th, 2013 will be the next meeting. Good night, everybody. Good night, everyone.
So it's 3 weeks.
Right.